Welcome to part 4 of the AWS Ecosystem Deep Dive. Now, here's a common problem. Your database queries are too slow. Your application is waiting on the database and users are getting frustrated. ElastiCache is in-memory caching. It puts frequently accessed data in memory for sub-millisecond response times. And you see that right here. You basically got two options: Redis, which has rich features and persistence, or Memcached, which is simpler and faster for basic caching. The idea is, instead of hitting your database every time, you check the cache first. If the data is there, you return it instantly. If not, you get it from the database and store it in the cache for next time. This reduces database load and makes your application much faster. For a specialized use case, like highly connected data, there is Neptune. You find it right here. It's a graph database. And when would you use a graph database? Social networks where you need to find friends of friends. Recommendation engines where you need to find products related to other products. Fraud detection where you are looking for suspicious patterns of connections. Knowledge graphs where entities are related to each other in complex ways. If your data is all about relationships between things, Neptune is the tool. Key spaces, which you can see over here, is serverless Cassandra compatible database. If your organization uses Apache Cassandra, Keyspace lets you run those workloads on AWS without managing the Cassandra infrastructure. And TimeStream, that you can see over here, is purpose built for time series data. And what is time series data? Data points that are time stamped and collected over time. Examples can be IoT sensor readings, application metrics, DevOps monitoring data, financial tickers, anything where you are tracking values over time. Okay, so databases are for structured and semi-structured data, but not all data fits in databases. What about images, videos, PDF documents, backup files? These are objects, files of different types and sizes. Databases are not designed for this kind of data. That's where storage services come in. And in the same menu, if we scroll down, you find the storage section right here at the bottom. And S3 is the most widely used service in the storage space. You will use S3 in almost every project. Think of S3 like Google Drive for AWS. You can store literally any kind of file, images, videos, documents, backups, application data, logs, anything. You access it from anywhere, and it's incredibly durable. AWS stores multiple copies of your data across facilities. Let's jump into its dashboard and then see what it has to offer. And towards the left at the top, we'll click on the 3 lines to see all the options that are available over here. Now, here is an important concept. S3 is not a file system. It's object storage. Each object has a key. That's like the file name and path, the data itself, and metadata like tags and properties. You access objects via HTTP APIs, not by mounting a drive. And S3 has different storage classes based on how often you access the data. S3 standard is for frequently accessed data, fast and reliably available, and readily available. S3 intelligent tiering automatically moves data between tiers based on access patterns. It optimizes cost for you. S3 standard IA is for infrequent access data, cheaper storage, but retrieval costs. S3 Glacier is for archival, really cheap storage, but retrieval takes minutes to hours. And S3 Glacier Deep Archive is for long-term archiving. Cheapest storage, but retrieval can take up to 12 hours. So you pick based on how often you need to access the data and how quickly you need it. Now, if you need a shared file system that multiple EC2 instances can access at the same time, S3 doesn't work like a traditional file system. That's EFS. Let's go back to the storage in the menu, and you find EFS right here. EFS stands for Elastic File System. It is shared file storage that you can mount to multiple EC2 instances simultaneously. You would use this when multiple servers need access to the same files, like for content management systems, development environments where developers need shared access, or user home directories. Here's the difference. EFS you mount like a traditional file system using NFS protocol. S3 you access via HTTP APIs. EFS is for shared files across servers. S3 is for object storage and general purpose data. For specialized file system, there is FSX. It offers third-party file systems optimized for specific workloads. FSX for Windows gives you a native Windows file server like SMB protocol, Active Directory integration, all the Windows stuff. FSX for Lustre is high performance computing. When you need really fast file access for AI, ML training data, or HPC workloads, FSX for NetApp ONTAP is enterprise grade storage for complex enterprise workloads. And for centralized backup management, there is AWS Backup, which you find right here at the top. It backs up data across all AWS services from one place. EC2 instances, EBS volumes, RDS databases, DynamoDB tables, EFS file systems, even S3 buckets. One service to manage all your backups. Finally, Storage Gateway, which is right here at the bottom. Storage Gateway connects your on-premises environments to AWS storage. If you have servers in your data center that need to access S3 or backup to the cloud, Storage Gateway bridges that gap. All right, let's recap. Access is done, network is done, compute is done, now data is handled. So we have applications and then we have data. But here's the thing. In modern architecture, you have got multiple services that need to talk to each other. Now, how does service A tell service B that something happened? How do you coordinate complex workflows? That brings us to application integration, which we will cover in part 5. And that's part 4 complete. In this video, we went deep on data, RDS and Aurora for relational databases, DynamoDB for NoSQL, DocumentDB for MongoDB workloads, ElastiCache for caching, then storage with S3 for objects, EFS for shared files, FSX for specialized workloads. We've got applications and data, but modern applications are not monolithic. They're made for many services that need to communicate. In part 5, we are covering application integration, SQS, SNS, event bridge, step functions. This is how you build loosely coupled, scalable architectures. If you are learning a lot from this series, share it with someone who is on their AWS journey. A simple share goes a long way. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll see you in part 5.